Well, it's interesting because I think that especially as someone who's so in tune with their strengths, have noticed that certain rooms charge certain things. So if I go into a big group of people, I can feel the woo take over. I just did that 700-person event where I was the MC. I knew once I got on that stage, I would sort of black out and woo would take the stage. And once I get hooked into that, it's like revs it up, it charges its batteries, and I find I'm on fire.
Hello and welcome back to Coach to Coach. Today, brace yourselves. We are talking about woo. And I have with me today Sarah and Angela. Angela, I want to ask you first, where are you in the world today and what do you do? A little bit about that. And then please share with our listeners your top 5 strengths.
Well, thank you, Brandon, for the invitation. I'm thrilled to be here. I am sitting in Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Scotland. I came to the United States 30 years ago to do research. I did a PhD and postdoc, and then I worked for 25 years in research and development in GlaxoSmithKline in infectious disease. And then I had a strengths awakening about 10 years ago, and I'm sure we'll get into that. And I then left the company, retired from the company, and started my own coaching, strengths coaching business 5 years ago already. And my top 5 are woo, positivity, developer, empathy, and connectedness.
Thank you. Sarah.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Sarah Collins here, coming at you from Lincoln, Nebraska. And I hate to be on this podcast with Angela only because she has the coolest accent in the world. But luckily for all of us, she's also so cool. But you're going to hear my just really raw Midwestern voice next to this beautiful Scottish accent. I mean, I apologize for that. I own Collins Collective. We do team and leadership development with organizations who are looking to focus on the best of people. I also do keynote speaking. My signature keynote is called the Good Energy Club, which it has a lot of that woo, which we're going to be getting into today in it. And my top 5 are positivity, woo, communication, harmony, and activator.
Oh, very good. So we have some nice variants in your top 5, but I do want to ask, Angela, do you have any of her top 5 in your top 10? Do you have the communication, harmony, or activator anywhere down in the top 10?
I have communication at number 6, and I have activator at number 7.
Yep. No surprise there. And how about you, Sarah? Any of hers? The empathy, developer, connectedness?
I have developer in my top 10 and empathy is in my top 13, which I do say I can pick it up off the floor when needed.
Okay, so we have some similarities, which is actually really fascinating about the strength of woo, because woo always seems to have certain friends that come along on the strengths journey. So when you find one, you're going to probably find another. I think it's very rare to see woo without its partner communication. A little more likely to see communication without woo sometimes, but not the other way. It usually is going to be in tow. So I'm going to start throwing questions out. Either of you can grab them at any time or give way to the other. It's up to you. But let's start off with, please tell our listeners, what is woo? What is woo and what it's all about? Now, remember, a lot of these are coaches, a lot of experts are listening, but we do get people who are new to strengths. So we want to set that baseline of what it is so we can start to listen in on how this particular strength is so cool, so unique, such a fun one.
Why don't you go, Sarah? You jump in. Go ahead.
I love saying that to 2 activators, by the way. That's my joy because you're both like, I'll go. No, I'll go. Should I wait? Should I let her go first? I don't know. Should I go?
I know, we're trying to be polite, but we're like, you go. We could both take it. Well, it is unique and is the only Clifton Strength says an acronym that stands for winning others over. And they often say you can't lock woo in the room. There are no strangers to woo. Woo is good at making friends And they I got this from Brandon, but there is that winning component in there. And so often wanting to gain favor, gain approval. Of course, this can look different depending on the other strengths around it, on how it shows up. I often see that woo can get a bad rap. People who don't have woo have opinions about woo. So there are some that will say, oh, I love those woo people. And there are some that say, I don't want anything to do with those woo people. And I think that's because we have a lot of assumptions about woo, because it is an influencing theme that has a lot of energy with it. And it is oftentimes noticed when someone has it. And so I think that causes opinions amongst the people who are strengths aware to think about woo in one way or another, good or bad. But I find it is a very polarizing theme. Angela, what would you add?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the work I do is with biotech and pharma people. So lots of technical people. And there are very few woos. I mean, when I was in R&D at GSK, I was a unicorn with my woo, right? So honestly, when we do
as soon as you said what you did, Angela, I'm thinking to myself, how did a number one woo
my
end up
analytical
there?
is number 34, Brent.
Okay, because I was listening to you say your PhD. I went, did somebody send you down a wrong? No, I'm kidding.
Well, this is also probably why she ended up not there anymore.
Well,
Okay,
it's
possibly
true. And so lots of technical people and tons and tons and tons of relators, right? But very few woo. And actually, when we do love, frustrate, appreciate with that crowd, often they appreciate woo. They kind of wish they had a little bit of woo, because it's really so distant from a lot of the more technical scientific types of people that I come across. But I do agree that it's a lot of maybe misunderstood. I think the winning others over. And when I first read about woo, I was kind of like, it felt a bit icky. It felt like I was manipulative or winning others over, and then kind of, I'm done with you, I'm moving on to the next person kind of thing. So I agree that it can be a little polarizing. But I have also, there's no doubt we're bringing energy. And I often say when I come in a room, even a virtual room like this, I'm like a Labrador puppy, right? I'm like, oh, friends, fun. Oh my goodness, this is going to be great. Like, I don't know any of you, but I'm so convinced that we're going to have a great time and that I'm going to learn something from you, and that, oh my goodness, this is going to be fun. And it's a fountain. It's a total 100% fountain for me. I'm 100% extrovert on Myers-Briggs. So the fact that I'm woo, like if I hadn't been woo in my top 5, I don't think I would have believed Don Clifton.
I think you both putting it out there right away, how polarizing the strength can be. And some of the rap it gets around, well, can it be, fake or manipulative? And I go, look, all 34 strengths can manipulate. Woos are just better at it. So, I mean, they're just good at it. They know how to win you over. And sometimes their signal is true. It's virtuous. Like they have a reason. And sometimes they just want their way, and they're just going to get their way because it is a superpower. As you're listening today, you need to know that if you have a woo in your life, they have a superpower, and it is incredible. And I can say that about all the strengths, but because of what Angela just said, the extroversion of this particular strength, it is sought after. It is something that it has gravitas. People are drawn to woo. So as you two are unpacking a little more of woo, take a look at each other's top 5. So Sarah, you have that positivity driving the bus with woo behind it, which I find extra. But then Angela, you're like the other way around, is woo positivity. So you both have those two right at the top. Can you guys talk about a little bit of how those strengths are going to play? Because I find a lot of woos with positivity. I told you two at the top of the show before we jumped on that I am married to a number one woo with high positivity, and not too many dark days for Annalyn. Like, she is a very happy, genuinely happy individual. Like she genuinely has joy. She lightens up rooms. She brings mirth to almost any situation that we find ourselves in. And so that combination's cool. Can either or both unpack that for us?
Well, I think it's funny that Angela described herself as a Labrador because I often describe myself as a caffeinated golden retriever. So we both are on the big, nice, friendly dog train here on our personality types. And I think that that description describes that positivity woo combination really well. I remember being in junior high or high school and having this thought alone in my room of maybe I had some sort of chemical imbalance that made me just like happier than other people. Like, some people are like, oh, I have a chemical imbalance. I'm depressed. I was like, I think I have the opposite, but like, I'm not going to complain because I had all these girlfriends who would get sad and lonely and depressed and, going through all the drama. And I was like, I'm just really here coasting. I feel pretty good. And I think that is the talent of woo positivity. I typically can find the bright side, and I'll often describe to people if I got a flat tire on the way to work or an event, yeah, that would be totally inconvenient. Like, your girl doesn't know how to change the flat tire, okay? I'd have to look up a YouTube video or call my husband. But when I got to where I was going, I wouldn't be like, "Ugh, oh my God, I'm having a terrible day." I would be like, you guys, oh my God, I have a story to tell you, which is also probably communication in there. I'd be like, I would make this whole, like, I can't believe I got this flat tire. So even when I'm complaining, it's often theatrical and dramatic, but in an upbeat way. And I'm really quick to turn around to the good stuff. I often am looking for the bright side, the silver lining.
I love it, Sarah, and I say that I'm pathologically half full. Like I just can't help myself, right? Um, my son came home from college. He is about 4.5 hours away, and I insisted that he take the bus, and he had pretty miserable time. The other bus broke down. They left a guy at the rest stop, and because it was a private chartered bus, they had to go back for him on the main highway. It took an hour. He was like he wasn't feeling well. But I'm like, oh my gosh, honey, you've got this amazing story to tell about the bus. If the bus had gone 4.5 hours without any incident, you'll tell no one. But because you have a story, you'll tell 12 people. Like so I'm always looking, this is a learning moment, honey. This is totally fine, right? But I mean, just a little bit of the story of my year. A year ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, the good news is it was early phase with a great prognosis and a full treatment plan. But I had surgery. I went through 6 rounds of chemotherapy. And woo and positivity, it's too much to say it saved my life, but it certainly helped me tremendously this year, right? Because I was able to, stay positive 16 out of 21 days. I felt good in the worst of it. So I didn't focus on the 5 days where I felt bad. I always focused on the 16 days I feel good. And that is something that I really am very, very grateful to. And my mother, I think there's genetics here for me. My mother was woo and positivity before Donald Clifton described them. And I really admired her for that. She could work a room, right? And her influence was in a local village in Scotland, but she had this kind of magnetism that drew people in. And I saw that and admired that. That helped me claim woo and positivity as I learned about strengths. And so I think for sure woo and positivity. And I think there's about 30% of the time, I think, from Gallup data, that if you have woo, there's a 30% chance you'll have positivity in your top 5 as well. So yeah, it's life-saving.
Yeah, you just described the superpower of it right there, of what it did for you during what could have been the darkest, hardest time in anyone's
and I had some
life.
dark and hard days, right? It's not a picnic. My gosh, anyone who's listening who's been through it, and so many people in our lives have been through it. But again, it's the focusing on what I can control, how I'm going to feel, that really, really helped me navigate, and get to this point, and again, my mantra was staying alive in 25. Again, like I make fun. Like I make fun of everything.
What if the people you coach could navigate their total health and performance with the same ease as using Google Maps? Our friends at Wellbeing at Work help organizations turn fragmented programs and frustrated employees into thriving, high-performing teams. Wellbeing at Work acts as a GPS to enable total health and peak performance, pinpointing where your people are now, where they want to go, and the best path to get there. With Wellbeing at Work, coaches become credentialed navigators with personalized insights, proven tools, and human-centered support. If you're a coach committed to performance and care, Wellbeing at Work is your path forward. Navigating at scale from burnout to breakthrough is now possible. Visit podcast.34strong.com to find a better way forward to empower a healthier, more energized workforce. Again, that's podcast.34strong.com, Wellbeing at Work.
Well, and what I love that you said, so I have been developing the Good Energy Club because everywhere I go, people say to me, you have such good energy. How do I have your energy? But like you, Angela, I haven't had cancer, but I've gone through hard times. Everyone has. We can't compare our hards to each other but everyone has hard days, whether it's just hard to get out of bed, whether you're going through some sort of medical thing, whether you have experienced loss or grief, even the woos and positivities. And so as I dug into that, what I have come to is when I think about good energy, I say, it's not a personality trait, it's a practice, and it can be built because everybody wants this. Now, I will be the first to admit those high woos, those high positivities are more likely to do the habits that give you good energy because it comes more naturally to us, right? So when you were down, you're a fun person. You seek out fun, you seek out levity, you seek out connection because those things fuel your talents. But you had to seek those things out. They don't just naturally come to you on those hardest, darkest days. And I think that's something everyone can learn, no matter what your strengths profile is when you need it, because energy, you change your energy, you change your outcomes out there in the world. We can feel someone's energy when they walk in the room. That is one of the superpowers of woo, is that we can shift the energy of a room. Well, bad energy can also shift the energy of a room. So if you're working in corporate and you're looking to get ahead, or you're looking to get a better spot on the BTA, or, just connect with more people at your kid's soccer game, your energy you bring to those encounters is going to make a huge impact on your success. And I think people can take a lesson from the woos, from the positivities of what are those practices that we naturally fall into that help get us up, whether it's a good day or the hardest day we have things we can naturally fall on, and anybody can take that lesson and run with it.
I actually watched your Instagram post on this exact thing yesterday, I think, Sarah, right? Your first image was you kind of getting out of bed, and then you went to your son's school and you connected with some people, and then you finished the day in a high energy keynote kind of MC job, right? And you talked us through those steps, which I thought was so brilliant. And again, even if with woo and positivity as high as for both of us, it's still an act of will on some days to get ourselves up and out and in that mindset, right? And even for your wife, Brandon, too, right? She needs a coffee, or she might need a walk, or, whatever she might need, your support to help her get there.
Yes, because I found with woo that it's not this automatic high. It's not an automatic on. It has the ability to be on more often. And it does, especially with what you two were describing with positivity, it can shift. It can have the half full natural mentality, but it still has its days. It still has its challenges.
Still
It's
human. Like
still,
at the end of the day, we're all human beings and we all experience every range of human emotion and experiences.
that's right. So I would like you two to uncover two of the strengths that show up in your five. Sarah with harmony with woo, very curious about how that one works. And Angela, empathy with woo, super curious about how that one works together. So whoever wants to go first with that, I'm very curious just when you think about how those strengths interplay, because, Sarah, harmony has a reputation of calm, soothing, bringing, peace. It can mediate, it can help draw in. And so when you connect it to woo, there might be some question around, okay, well, how does that work? How do you woo a harmony or harmony a woo? And that way it goes. And where empathy, because of the sincerity of empathy, the way that it can touch you without physical, a need. It doesn't have to put your hand on to touch you because empathy reaches across and you feel it. And so when you think about how the woo is winning and moving, I'm curious how that empathy plays in. And so maybe start, Sarah, on the woo harmony side.
Well, it's interesting because I think that I, especially as someone who's so in tune with their strengths, have noticed that certain rooms charge certain things. So if I go into a big group of people, I can feel the woo take over. Like I just did that 700 person event where I was the MC. I knew once I got on that stage, I would sort of black out and woo would take the stage. And once I get hooked into that, it's like revs it up, it charges its batteries, and I find
Okay,
I'm on fire.
we have to repeat that. We have to repeat that. So all the woos out there, show of hands who has that blackout and woo takeover experience, because all the rest of our strengths are like, she said what? she said it does what? And she just said like, yeah, there's this, yeah, it takes over, and then it's
like an inverted pyramid, like, and woo's at the bottom. Everything goes from there. Like, I was thinking about that, like, as preparing for this.
I'm gonna remember that. That's a new one for me. Wow. I just black out. Woo took over. Okay, carry on. Let's hear more.
And so it's like a battery that gets charged. And even if I'm with one person who charges that woo, like a new person that I'm becoming friends with, who's high energy, I can feel the forward momentum of it. But my harmony, two things happen. One, sometimes I get off that stage and my harmony is like, did you just say something that might have hurt somebody's feelings? Do you need to go apologize? Did you say something insincere? Are people gonna be mad at you now? Like, I get that like demon in my mind of like, was that okay? Did I say that? Was that offensive? Because the harmony is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We want everybody to get along here and to like me and like no ruffled feathers. I didn't mean to cause conflict. And so sometimes they get in almost like a fight inside of my brain because my woo is like, this is so funny. And my harmony is like, oh my God, I think somebody might be mad at us. And that can cause a problem. I do think, though, if I'm in, say, a one-on-one coaching situation, my woo, or I'm in a room that I'm new to and I don't have a role, my woo, she quiets down. Because I want to read the room. I want to get to know the people. And I think many people I talk to have very smart woos. Oftentimes, the loudest, most boisterous person isn't necessarily going to win everyone over, depending on their situation. If I'm hired to be your facilitator or MC, then yes, I can turn that on. But if I'm just coming to a networking event as Sarah, business owner, I need to like listen and see who is here, who knows what, where am I going to fit? So I don't come in with 100% extroversion. I come in more with that harmony, right? Listening. I have that positivity, but I'm a little bit more subtle. And in a coaching situation, I also need that. I need to find, I'm that peacemaker. So I want to find our middle ground. Where can I connect with someone? I'm always looking, even if it's, I like your shoes. I want to find a common thread between me and someone else because I know that that's going to help bridge that gap. And that plays both into winning them over and also getting along with anyone. There are people out there who will say like, oh, I don't care if those people don't like me. And I'm like, well, that could never be me. I mean, I wish that was me, but I do care if someone doesn't like me, and it makes me upset and I think about it. And that's that harmony. And that harmony in woo is just like people pleasing, which can cause problems.
Thank you, because I think what you just represented is that your harmony does bring a softer, conscientious, very considerate. You're thinking about feelings. You're thinking about how did that land? Did I cause a disruption? And that would be a difference than if someone didn't have that necessarily with their woo in the top five, because even the way you said how you enter a room or a one-to-one space where you might say, okay, harmony, you're leading the show here. I'm intentionally putting you first. So woo, I can't black out right now. You can't take over. I gotta, like, this is harmony's turn. Shh, stop, woo. No, not now. Right? Like because you have that ability to put it first where you need it. Very cool. Any thoughts on what she shared, Angela, with not sharing that? I don't know where harmony is for you, but how you heard that one land?
Yeah, I what I wrote down here was situational woo. And you know that, and I think it's, you know, you can be in front of a big crowd like you were last night or whenever, Sarah, or in front of a group, bringing it, and then you get in coaching where you have to shut up, like, and it's so interesting because I think that's the situational woo. We have to switch it off when we're in coaching, because I'm not, you know, I'm the guide from the side, not the sage on the stage anymore. And if I really want to have that really important and valuable coaching conversation, I have to shut woo down, or put the Labrador in the cage in the kitchen while I'm upstairs, right? So I think that really resonates, that and that your other people skills and people strengths are modulating the woo and creating the right situation. I would say the same. Empathy does the same. And I think there's two types of empathy. I think what woo and empathy do for me with people I know is that I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I mean, I think I just showed that with my description, right, of my year. I make note of when people's fathers and mothers died. Like I reach out on the anniversary. So woo helps me connect and stay in connection, but I'm bringing that like real kind of feeling and of empathy. I feel you. I lost my mother. I still think about her 5 years later, right? Or empathy for others and strangers, right? Like I will, if there's a lady cleaning the bathroom at the airport, on my way out, I will say, thank you for your work. Like that's empathy plus woo, right? Because the woo gives me the confidence, or just I'm going to say something to someone I don't know, but I'm going to offer her something that will tell her I see her.
So a sensitive woo. You have a sensitivity. You have a different way that as you process through the feelings that you're picking up or the emotions, because I was very curious how a woo handles that, because I've heard with empaths, there can be overload. You can take on a lot of where the room is or individuals in the room. And is woo inclined to want to do something with that? How do I respond to that? Because you're picking up, and I've noted with empaths, they feel the hurt. They can pick up where pain is, as much as they can find joy, but they seem to find pain, insecurity, people that are working through trauma, or as you described with your own illness, just working through debilitating disease that's going to take time to recover from. And so curious, with that sensitivity, how does woo respond to it?
I have been trying to not take on, with empathy, take on the emotion of others, but be a witness to it, you know? And I think that woo allows me to, it gives me the confidence to make the connection, whether it's with someone I know and know well or a stranger. right? I don't have to absorb everything, all the emotion, all the feelings, but I can reflect it. I can be a mirror to you. I can see you. And I think that is how I try to think about it. But all my other 4 are from relationship building, right? And I often think about connectedness too. How does that connect with woo? And I will often say in a room, like there are, woos go wide, relators go deep. But I said, like, I have connectedness. I want to go wide and deep with everyone, right? I'm very fueled coming into this conversation because I just had 2 calls earlier this afternoon, and they were deep and wide. Like, I felt like I had a real connection. We had some inspiring and insightful things. Now that's my woo turned down, but to me, the woo is also the connection, not the loudness or the energy. It's the sitting with you to learn from you and to be inspired by you and to connect with you.
Coaches and service-based business builders want to 10x your impact and income? Join the Strengthspreneur Mastermind, led by Brent O'Bannon, MCC, author of the Strengthspreneur 10X Workbook, and the world's first Gallup-certified strengths coach. This powerhouse group gives you personalized coaching, peer support, and proven tools to launch and scale your unique strengths. We meet 2 times a month. Come sharpen your strategy, boost confidence, and grow smarter, not harder. Visit podcast.34strong.com to thrive as a strengthspreneur. Again, visit podcast.34strong.com. Join Brent O'Bannon and thrive as a strengthspreneur.
Angela, when you talked about the saying thank you to the bathroom attendant, I was thinking of your connectedness because like you can see why that person matters, like that empathy, connectedness of like noticing, seeing. And then I almost hear your woo is like the tenacity to say something, because I think there's a lot of deeply feeling people out there with connectedness or empathy, but without a lot of maybe influencing themes. They might not say it. They might think it. They see someone, but they might keep it to themselves because they might feel more introverted or shy or like, oh, now's not the right time or place. And I think it can be those influencing themes that give us sort of the courage, because it takes a bit of courage to talk to a stranger. And that's where I think that woo can come in, is to communicate those deep seed feelings that you have and that you notice and the connections you see in the world and how you notice people. That's something I'm so envious of, is how you even said you remember people's parents when they lost them and you reach out to them on that day. I wish I had more of that. That's one of the things that's hard for me about my talent makeup, is I remember what's in front of me now. To be intentional like that, especially with people in my life, it is really hard. I have to try really hard. I have to put it in my calendar. I have to make note of it. I have to do things because I want to be a person who cares deeply like that, but it's not natural to me. I just sort of like see and respond. And so I can miss some of those things that build deep, loving, lasting relationships with people.
Yeah, I think woo in that instance is the delivery system. I think you're absolutely right. It's the confidence to say what is on my heart and mind, and that the woo delivers the message.
That's great. I'm going to ask you about to turn this up now to your activator strengths, because woo with activator is a force of nature. And so I'm really curious, when you think about that social courage, your willingness to step into all kinds of circumstances, situations, you'll speak up. An activator is a compelling strength. It compels us. It moves us. That's one I relate very strongly to. And so when you think about those two together, because this is where, I'll just say it kindly, woo can be feisty with activator. It can have a little bit of a edge side to it with this one. So I'm curious where you both, and this is not to take anything away from your harmony or empathy, but I just imagine that there's another side to you as I look down your list and I see the activator. how does that show up? And I'm being sincere. My wife is a woo activator, so I know the feisty side. I know the no BS side of her, that she has lines that cannot be crossed, and she doesn't mind not only stepping in to say things, but say things that need to be said with, we'll say, some salsa on it. Like, it's peppery, like it can come strong. Curious how you both relate to that, given that combo in particular.
Well, I don't know so much about within myself, but when I am with an activator, I absolutely love it. And one of my friends who we created a little second mountain coaching program, she has activator number 1. And I always say she's the spark and I'm the gasoline with word, right? It's explosive. There's energy there. And and when I look at the people in my life who I've had that kind of, energy, creative starting, they often have activator. So I really identify that in with others, Brandon, more than I sort of have a story about within myself. But yeah, the spark and gasoline, it's funny.
Perfect description. I would say I am often told by clients that I have a unique ability to walk this line where I say and ask very direct questions that surprise people. And I can be very, I don't want to say opinionated, but I get really passionate about this work. And when I'm trying to work with a team or individuals, I shoot them very straight. And yet I'm really likable. And so people are always, when people first meet me, I think maybe some people don't take me as seriously. I'm this beautiful woman who's so friendly and nice. You could think there's not a lot back there. But then when I take you on as a client and like it's getting real, it's sort of this dichotomy of like, wait a second. And my husband always says, I don't know how you get away saying this stuff to people. Like, you're kind of mean. He's like, but everyone likes you. Like, no one else could get away with saying some of the stuff that you do. And then as he says that, my harmony is like, oh my God, what if people think I'm mean? But that's that interplay of that activator, of that woo, of that harmony and positivity. They come out like that, which I think has been really advantageous in my business. But I will tell you, I had a job when I was younger, and my boss and I did not get along great, which was really hard for me because I want everyone to like me. And in hindsight, when I think about that job, because I think about it all the time because I think she doesn't like me, I realized that what would happen is we would get in team meetings. And if someone had an idea or if I had an idea, but if I thought the idea was good, whether it was mine or someone else's, I could get everybody going on that idea within the next 15 minutes and having a plan and having roles and going out the door. And if that's not what the boss wanted, of course, she was mad at me. She was like, what the hell? Now everyone wants to do this. We shouldn't be doing, maybe she didn't like that idea. And so I can see now my activator and woo in those meetings could take something and run with it and just execute. But like that, I wasn't the boss. So that caused friction between us, and that's how it can get in your way. And it's a good thing I started my own business because now I just don't have to answer to anyone else.
Yeah, there's definitely that can do kind of, like, let's go, let's do it. Like, no sooner said than done.
Yeah. Like you said, the gasoline underneath people. And I feel like that can be really great as a coach too, because I can do that for my clients. That, we're talking about something they want to do, and I can say, that's a great idea. What's your next step? Are you going to have it done by the time next we meet? And I can get that fire burning in them to do the things they said with a plan. And it's perfect place for me because I'm not always good at executing plans, but I'm really good at lighting fires under people who are good at executing plans. And that's why I think this is, of course, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but this is why I love strengths, Because if you put me in a role where I had to be the one doing it, I don't have achiever. If I was in that role, I wouldn't have as much success. I wouldn't like it. It would be a struggle for me. My role is to lift people up, is to bring the energy, is to come in with the oomph, is to help people who can do the plans, who can achieve, who can run. Let me be your gasoline, your spark underneath of you to lift you up. And then I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get out of your way so you can have the success in that. And when you find those lanes that you can be successful in, that's how everybody succeeds.
Yeah, and I think with Woo and Activator, it's like you're inspiring action immediately. You know? Yeah. From ourselves and others.
So as we round the bend here for the remainder of our time, I wanted to hear both of you give the little parting shot on just anything we might have missed with Woo. So being that our listeners, many of them coach, they train, they're consultants, many of them are growing in their knowledge of strengths. They enjoy hearing some of the intricacies of these strengths as told by experts. And so, Angela, how about you first? Anything else you want to add about Woo that would benefit our listeners?
And one of the questions you had sent us in advance was like, are there any misconceptions? And, I think there is this idea that Woo can be perceived as shallow or insincere. And what I have to keep in mind is that if you look at the league table of strengths, like Achievers number 1 and what significance is the bottom, Relator is number 4 and Woo is number 23, And so I have to keep reminding myself there are way more relators than Woo. And so I have to be patient and curious with people because I am not necessarily going to win them over in the first 5 minutes, right? Which is my working hypothesis is, I'll have built rapport and won you over and inspired you within 5 minutes. And yet with the relators particularly, they're deep. Like they don't trust you off the bat. You're going to need to put in more time. So again, that's something that I think, in terms of we need to not assume that everyone's going to be won over by us and not give up. But like we need to just stick with it. And so I think that is definitely something. And the other misconception I think is that I don't want any time on my own. And as I get older, I find that I actually do want, especially those early morning walks, to listen, to reflect. I spend quite a lot of time on my own. And I actually am finding that I like that quite a bit, but not too much. Like maybe.
Really similar to what Angela said. If you have someone with Woo in your life that you work with, a client, I would encourage you to be really curious about it because I think there are certain strengths that we make assumptions about that we're like, oh, we know that one. And Woo is one of those. You think you know it. It's easy to see. It's winning others over. And most of the time with people who have it, you're like, yes, they're a Woo. And then you move on to the other strengths that are maybe more nuanced you want to get into. But I think even if you have Woo, be really curious about it because I think it is so much deeper and more powerful than people give it credit for almost always. So be curious about how it works and how it ticks because as you said in the beginning, Brandon, it is a superpower. It is such a asset to you or to your team or to your organization. But there is so much room within it to grow and develop. Do not assume you know this person because they have that Woo. And if you have it, don't assume that you know exactly how it's showing up for you because I will tell you, I have been doing strengths for over 12, 13, 14 years. And it has been probably in the last 3 or 4 years that I have done so much thinking about my Woo and how it shows up And I have learned so much about myself. And there are things that I love that I know now I can harness and turn on and help me get the things I want out of this life. And there are pitfalls that it gives me that I am open about. And I try my best to be honest with people and to communicate that. And I think that that is just something, it's deeper than you think and you're giving it credit for. It's not just the party trick. There's so much more there. And if you look at those other strengths around it, that's going to impact it immensely. So don't just assume you know that person because they have woo. Be curious and see what is underneath the hood.
Well, and get a coach to talk you through, because I've learned about my woo in this conversation. Because we're not all asking each other these questions every day. Like, we're asking these questions of others, but not always of ourselves. So I think stay actively curious, as Sarah said, about your own strengths and the strengths of others. Right?
That's good. Thank you both. And so as we wrap our time, listeners, if you found value from today's session on woo, and I can't imagine you didn't, because this has been loaded with really powerful information about this strength, that I think, to the point Sarah and Angela made, I think we know this one. I think most of us think once we get, winning others over, and it's almost like, yeah, I get that. But to their point, there's so much depth to this. Take the time to learn, take it to understand, especially when you're working with one or related to one, or they are a client of yours, because there's a depth that woos want to be understood. They want to be understood for what they bring and how they show up, and the way that their gift to us can be valued and could be really appreciated. And because they really like to be useful and they like to be leveraged and they really like to see how their strength can make a positive difference. And so, Sarah, right before we wrap here, could you tell our listeners where they can find you to come and do the Good Energy Club with them?
Oh my God, I would love that. Thank you, Brandon. So wearecollinsco.com is my website. You can also find me on Instagram. It's my favorite place on the internet. It's at Sarah, Sarah, Coach Collins, Collins. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, people. We love the LinkedIn. And you can find out everything about the Good Energy Club and how we serve our clients in helping strong people be strong teams and strong teams be strong organizations.
Awesome. Thank you. Angela.
Yep. I'm also on LinkedIn, Angela Steele, and LinkedIn, and also on fundamentalscoaching.org. And working with teams to unlock that potential and really give people insights on how to kind of work together and accelerate our ways of working, particularly in teams. So thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you both for joining today, and really appreciate it. This was a really deep and meaningful conversation, and I'm sure our listeners will get a lot of value. So listeners, until next time, thank you for joining us today on Coach to Coach.
That's a wrap on this episode of Coach to Coach. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're a strengths coach looking to dive deeper, join the Coach Strong community. It's where coaches like you come together to share insights, support one another, and discover partnership opportunities. Be part of the conversations that are elevating our industry. Email community@34strong.com to join today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on Coach to Coach. Stay strong.